Hey guys, what's up? So I just want to take a moment to remind you to really become part of the solution and not the problem, because there's so much going on right now in the world stage, and it's so easy for us to get caught up in it all because there's so much to get caught up in. There's so much coming up in the collective psyche of humanity, so many wounds, so many traumas being played out in the world stage right now that it's very triggering for so many of us, right? Because we have to understand that everything that's happening on a higher level is really happening to bring out those aspects and those unhealed wounds and unprocessed emotions and traumas and victimizations and biases and judgments that we have about ourselves and about the world. It's bringing it up to the forefront so that we can deal with it. But because of the way that this reality is set up, and because so many of us don't really have enough presence to really be fine-tuned to our inner reality and outer reality simultaneously at all times, many times our own stuff is getting reflected in what we are perceiving outside of us. And so I say all of this to remind you that if you're really wanting to be part of the solution, if you're really wanting to heal the collective psyche of humanity and raise consciousness, you have to recognize that any time that you are pointing the finger, judging, creating separation or division through judgment, through prosecuting others, to making others wrong and someone else right, you are part of the problem, because we cannot solve a problem at the level that it was created. And so as long as we're pointing the fingers, we're kind of just in the same dynamic. We're creating and being part of the same problem, right? Stephen Kapman created, or he theorized this thing called the drama triangle, which is basically an inverted triangle, where he explains that this is the dynamic of how humans tend to communicate and have personal relationships. And this is also shown throughout history. And that drama triangle is basically, at the bottom, you have the victim, the rescuer, and the prosecutor. And these roles are interchangeable. We're always changing in and out of these roles. But the thing is that whenever we're interacting from those roles, it's very limiting, right? Because you're interacting as a victim, so you're being victimized, you feel powerless. The prosecutor's pointing the finger, feeling righteous and right in their stance and victimizing others, but really it's just a cover-up for their own powerlessness. And the rescuer is the same thing. They're covering up their own powerlessness in needing to rescue others, because who they really need to rescue is themselves, but they feel good helping others, and that allows them to not have to look at their own stuff. So each of these roles are all the same. They're all covering up the same thing. So anytime that we're playing any of these roles, we are limiting ourselves, and we're just in this vicious drama triangle cycle. And so we need to rise above this and recognize that, yes, of course, we can get emotionally charged. There are things that are going to charge us up, and that we're going to be like, this is not right. And yes, we need to move towards change. But the way to also do that on a spiritual level is to look at all these things that are coming up and take whatever action you're being called to take in the physical world, because each of us have a specific role to play out in the world stage. But at the same time, also notice that anytime you're super charged up and you are feeling victimized, or you're playing the prosecutor role to a really high degree, or even the rescuer, notice what that is showing you about yourself, because it's also showing you the aspects of yourself that need integration, that need to come back into wholeness, right? Because we also have a lot of unprocessed traumas and emotions and beliefs and judgments that need to be purged, so that we can really start to add to the collective healing and move towards more of that unity consciousness. And so the reason that I am sharing this perspective with you is not to minimize anything that's going on or anything that you're passionate about in the world stage right now, but it's also always to remind you a more elevated and expanded perspective, and recognizing that whenever we are really emotionally charged about anything, our ability to perceive, our ability to receive is very limited, right? Our consciousness ends up contracting, right? So because we tend to be in a lower vibrational state when we're really highly emotionally charged, right? When we're angry, when we're prideful, vengeful, shame, guilt, whatever it is, those lower levels of emotions that we're experiencing, when you take action from those spaces, from those emotions, you are in a decreased state of consciousness, which means that what you're going to perceive is going to be very limited. Your ability to receive, to hear another person's point of view, to be able to really tune in and find a real solution is not going to be available for you, because remember that, again, you cannot solve a problem at the level that it was created. So the solution to whatever problems you are perceiving within your own life and within the world stage is always going to be available at a higher state of consciousness, which means that emotionally you have to be more neutral, so that you're open to being able to see all different perspectives and then come to a middle point that can provide a solution that actually helps the collective, that closes the gap of separation, and really provides real solutions. Does that make sense? So in me sharing all of this is not to say you shouldn't feel this way, but yeah, allow yourself to feel all of the things that are coming up during these times. But also don't forget to do your own work in your spiritual growth, and knowing that if you're truly wanting to make an impact in the world and you're really wanting to change, those solutions are not going to come to you if you're not in a neutral state.